Hello, everyone, and huge welcome to all of you to this conversation with my dear friend and collaborator, Tania. Uh, let me let me find Tania. Tania, huge welcome here, and thank you for making the time
Oh, thank you,
chat
Hector.
with me to chat with me. And I'm so excited about our upcoming retreat that we are going to be doing at your beautiful, beautiful Amassa. And I'm so keen for everyone to go on this journey with us. We're going to give everyone a little flavor of what Amassa is like and what the retreat is going to be all about. But first, I want to talk about how we met and how our worlds sort of collided, right, during the pandemic. I, at the time, started doing these weekly sessions, which was just an invitation for everyone to gather um, and stitch something uplifting and joyful. And I think you joined one of those sessions and probably joined several of those. And we got chatting. And we then talked about what maybe it'll be nice to get together, as a group and do something. And so it came to be that I started a small group of people who met regularly, who still meet regularly. And Tania has been a part of that from the word get-go. And a beautiful collaboration and friendship has unfolded, which I am so, so lucky to have Tania as my friend. I visited her in, I think it was 2022, the summer of 2022.
Yeah,
And Tanya,
absolutely. That's great.
Tanya happened to mention that, oh, I have this place, and why don't you come over and we'll have a look. And see if we can do something together. So really it began with the most, just the loveliest of invitations. And then lo and behold, we put a retreat together last year, which was just delicious in all sorts of ways. And we're going to show you some images from that, and we're going to talk about some of our experiences that we put together in that retreat. But I don't want to take any more of the spotlight, and I want to bring Tania on to
Thanks,
share more
Hector.
with us. Okay,
Well, thank
Tania.
you. Thank you. It's really funny, isn't it, to try and retrace our footsteps actually, and try and figure out how I think it was in the pandemic, you
Yes.
know. And I think I did your very first workshop with my daughter, Marley. We were sat at our kitchen. You're like, oh, let's do some stitching. I'd never stitched really before. And now this thread has continued. So I love this notion of the journey carrying on, and who knows where the needle is going to take us next. So shall I tell you a little bit about Amassa, which is where you
I
came?
would love to hear about Amasa. In fact, I would love all of our viewers to come with you on this journey of what Amasa looks like. And so just like take all of us with you. Oh, that's looking beautiful. We can
Can
now
you
see.
see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Um, well, thanks, Hector. I mean, thank you for such a lovely introduction. And, it's an absolute pleasure and delight. And I'm very excited to be welcoming you back with your tribe this year in April. So, Amassa, first of all, kind of where is it? Well, we're in the southwest of France. So I think most of your people either arrived to the Toulouse station or Toulouse airport. And, we arrange for people to come and be picked up and get whisked away to Amassa, which is about an hour west of Toulouse. And I suppose I start with this slide because, I'm from London, and you are too. And, in London, we never really get to see these vast views because everything's so close. People are close, buildings are close. So for me, one of the things about being in this part of the world is it's just got a sense of spaciousness and light, and you really notice the sky, and you get to breathe in a different way because it's just a bit more capacious. you know, there's just a bit more space around you. So so this is my welcome to Amassa slide.
It is so beautiful. And just to kind of give a little context, we will be arriving from Paris after having done the 3 days of soaking up inspiration. So this really would be the perfect complement to the busyness of the
Okay.
city, and for having seen a multitude of things and tried a multitude of textural flavors and you know, flavors of food. So I think the spaciousness that you've mentioned, the invitation to feel expanded, like in our bodies and in space, is just so beautiful. So I can't wait to see what you
Oh.
have.
Yeah, and I just to add to that, I suppose the thing is, you know, we get crammed, don't we? We get crammed with ideas, and I guess your trip to Paris, which sounds amazing, is all about that. It's about soaking up ideas and getting stimulated and kind of full of things. And then this is the opportunity to kind of to breathe and settle and to see what emerges from that. So yeah, I love that combination. I think it's going to be amazing. So you leave Toulouse and you leave that kind of hustle and bustle, and you find yourself in this undulating, gorgeous countryside. You know, as I said, with big views, and it's gentle. The area is called Gascony. And in some books it's referred to as the Tuscany of France, but it evokes that. It's got little hilltop villages, it's got these lovely valleys, it's got vineyards, it's got sunflowers. It's a very gentle, soft, but beautiful place. And then you arrive more towards us, and we're nestled between woods and fields and agricultural countryside. So it's very much a worked landscape. So you can see the hay bales here in the background. The main crop around us is probably, in that time of year, is probably wheat, sunflowers. Yeah, I suppose that's the main thing. There are some vineyards around. And you arrive down this little wooden track to Amassa, and it's kind of this little hamlet nestled in the countryside. I'll tell you a little bit more about the hamletishness in a bit.
Yes, go on.
But anyway, then I'm afraid you get greeted. Probably the very first person who will run up to you are dogs. So I hope most of your people like dogs, but Moses is on the wall there, and Pepe, who's our French companion, are very much part of us here.
Part of the Amassa family.
Yeah, they are part of the Amassa family, and you know, accompany you on walks, and will settle down next to you and see what you're up to, and yeah, like to be part of the scene. And then there's myself and my husband Ben here with one of our friends, a dear friend. And we set up Amassa, and I guess some people say, well, how come you ended up here, and what did you do? So we started coming to this part of France about 25 years ago when I was pregnant with my daughter, who I mentioned before. And we just loved the quietness, the space, the beauty. You'd drive on a road, you wouldn't see anybody. You'd be like, where are all the other cars? So we kind of fell in love with the area. And my background is in health. So I was a GP. And then I left general practice and I became a coach, and we set up a yoga studio together, Ben and I. So I guess my thread has been around kind of well-being, around possibility, around really trying to support people to live their best lives, and whatever that looks like for them. And that's where the retreats come in, I think, you know, for an opportunity for people to have some time away from their lives, from their busyness, to do what they love to do, or do what would nourish them.
Really a common thread, isn't it? The idea of possibility and the idea of really turning within ourselves to find joy, to find what really feels meaningful to us. So I think it wasn't a coincidence that we hit it off.
And I think it's that turning in, but also turning out. So We called the venue Amassa because Amassa actually in the ancient language of Occitan, which is the local dialect, means to gather. So there's something about coming into yourself, but also with other people. So it's not a, it's that connection, isn't it? It's connecting in and connecting out, connecting to your soul and connecting to nature. So I think it's those bits that we really, we try to bring together. Okay, enough about that. So I guess the next question is, okay, so where will I be staying? And what did it look like? So the hamlet that now exists as Amassa is made up of 4 independent houses for guests, and each house is configured slightly differently and different number of rooms. But there are 9 bedrooms altogether, and each bedroom has its own ensuite bathroom with a shower and toilet. And they all have their own areas of outdoor space, but everything is open to everyone, so you can wander around the whole site. And I think what I loved about the retreat that we set up last year, Hector, was that you end up creating your own little village community life. Some people are doing something in one corner and another few people are walking and someone's snoozing or whatever, but you just get a sense that everybody can just come and go and move around, but we're kind of held in this village atmosphere.
Yeah, I think my intention with it was very much that, it should feel like a creative time away from everything and everybody. So when you're taking this 1 week to really nourish your soul, and to that end, then the structures of education as we've known it make no sense, right? So it means that we are together in the studio throughout the day, and I'm on hand, I'm demonstrating, I'm showing, and I'm hopefully igniting ideas and helping you translate it. But at the same time, it's not a rigid structure that you've got to be here and only do this. We are adults and we all learn in different ways, and some of us respond better to visuals and others respond to kinetic learning, and we need to take a walk to kind of understand and absorb things. So all of that, the last sort of 15 years of experience of teaching adults, I poured into this to design a learning experience like no other, where you just feel held and supported in the way that you like learning best, in the way that you feel stimulated the best. And Amasa, I feel, is the perfect spot to do that, because there's nature around, there's stimulation, but of the gentle kind, that there's like bird song. That's the only music you hear, and it's beautiful.
And I think we saw that, didn't we? Because we had people who were kind of the larks who would get up early and were kind of in the studio before any of us were awake, or were having a swim or had been for a walk. And then you had the night owls who kind of after dinner would go back to the studio or go for a night walk. So it was really lovely. Everybody kind of found their pace. Let me keep going. So this is another building. This is also, this building is called Quince. So each of the buildings are called after the trees that are very near them. This quince has some gorgeous quince trees, not surprised, growing near it. And this is where the communal lounge and the kitchen, which we're going to talk about, and one of the swimming pools. There are 2 swimming pools at Amassa. And also has lovely bedrooms and a fireplace. So if we need to, we can always light a fire in the evenings. If there's an April chill, we can light a fire. If April's gorgeous and sunny, then we'll be outside enjoying the sunshine. So whatever it is, we'll make it beautiful and lovely. And then people always say, well, where will I sleep? So each room is different. Each house is different. They all have slightly different qualities. I have gone around the markets and local antique shops and tried to furnish them with all sorts of nice bits and pieces, but very much in the aesthetic of trying to recycle, upcycle, keep some of the old rustic flavor of the origins of the building: stone walls, wooden beams, rafters, terracotta tiles, but obviously adding in lovely modern things like proper showers. I think one of your participants said, the showers. The showers were amazing. The pressure was so great.
I remember that. I remember that. Everyone was super thrilled with the showers. It's just the right temperature and the water gushes out.
And I suppose while we're talking about showers, we probably talk about Wi-Fi. We've
Yes.
got Wi-Fi everywhere, and it was a really good connection, I think. So people could, if they wanted to, keep connected to the world, but if they wanted to disconnect, obviously they have the option to turn it off. And my splash to kind of otherliness was the cancer quilts, and it was you, Hector, who introduced me to cancer. I'd never heard about cancer. But oh my gosh, the quilts are so gorgeous, and I couldn't resist the opportunity to invest and put some beautiful coloured cancer quilts in all the rooms. So thank you for that.
It's my pleasure. And it complements the interiors so beautifully. You know, this the tactility of kantha, where the multiple layers of cloth have been stitched with running stitches. There's something about that surface that I think speaks so beautifully with the stone in the walls and the countryside that surrounds us. So it just feels I don't know what's the right word. I mean, Kantha to me has always spelled home. And this idea of finding a home away from home is very much, you know, the sort of underlying thread, if you will, or a vibe that permeates Amasa and the way that you and Ben um, have curated the space. It just this idea that it is a home and it is not a hotel, which
No.
is what I love
That's so
about it.
nice to hear, because that's exactly, you know, when I was kind of setting it up in my mood board and things, I'm sure I put homely. You
Yes.
know, it was somewhere that was supposed to be beautiful and inspiring, but homely and warm and comfortable all at the same place. So thank you. Okay, I'm looking at the time and I'm aware we probably need to move on. So that's the inside. Outside, there's lots of areas where there are tables and hammocks and benches where you can kind of find a corner for yourself or sit with other people and look out over the views. We try to grow loads of flowers. So I'm busy sowing my seeds at the moment, and I hope for another gorgeous display next year's. Yeah, all my little bulbs are coming out at the moment, my tulips and my leucojum and all sorts of gorgeousness. So yeah, flowers are important to me. And yeah, I mean, we've talked about the different buildings on this site. It's rustic, it's you know, to use the nicest expression, we let some of it go a bit rewilding. You know, it's not all manicured and perfect, but it's perfect in its imperfection and just in the way that it is and has been and has evolved. So if there's moss on the stone walls, there's moss on the stone walls. We interfere lightly, I think, with what's around us. And there's the other pool. And then we come to the food. So what are we going to eat? And the markets are full of gorgeous seasonal local produce. And this is Woody, and he's going to be our chef for the week. And he will go, you can see here the trays of food he's got from the market. He will go to the market pretty much every day and stock up with what's available and create it into delicious, nourishing food. And serve it up for us. So we just arrive at the table and get fed, and it's just that's such a delight in itself, isn't it? It's not to have to think about cooking and shopping and all those other things, but just to be fed, yeah, wholesome loveliness on a plate. And I guess the thing about meal times isn't just the food, although we all love good food. It's the coming together again, isn't it? It's sitting around, you know, sitting around outside or sitting around inside. And there were times I remember, Hector, we would be like, come on, everybody, we got to move. And, you know, it's time to get back or to move on to the next thing, because people just enjoyed sharing and coming together and laughing.
Yeah, and I loved that we all could fit around a table. So it just feels so intimate. And the conversations really flow, not just about art or textiles, but just about life, food, family, everything. And it just, again, you know, I come back to that word nourishing, nourishing your soul. So you're kind of filling your cup
Yeah.
in more ways than one. Okay, I'm keen to see the studio.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the only thing I would add is I was also mindful that there were some people who were also not having the best time in their lives, but it felt like we created a really safe environment for people just to be wherever they were at, you know. It had been, you know, this was almost post-COVID. It had been a difficult time for some people, and that was fine too. And what I really loved from the outside, kind of looking in, was just how everybody took this seed and ran with it, and everybody grew something very different, and you supported and helped if they needed help or didn't need help, and showed and demonstrated so many different things, but everybody's came out so amazingly different. You know, it's that thing of, yeah, everybody found their color or their way of expressing themselves. The stitches were different, the atmosphere was different in what they created. It was really, really beautiful to watch, I've got to say. I loved it.
Cute.
And here is you in full flow. You know, every day there'd be a new stitch or a new idea, or some people were asking you lots of questions. You just have the patience, you know, and you're a fantastic teacher. I think everybody really managed to connect with you, and you supported them in the work that they were producing wherever they were at. We had some people who were really ambitious, you know, excelling stitchers, for want of a better word, who've been doing it for years and years. And then we had some people who didn't really know much about embroidery. He came because they just wanted to be part of it because of some other reason, you know. So you had a whole range,
We
didn't
had
you?
a whole range. In fact, we had someone who had never embroidered ever, versus someone who had been embroidering since they were a little girl. So we had the whole range, and it just felt like a coming together of, and the generosity within the group as well, right? So of course, I am there to help everyone and demonstrate techniques and share my way of doing it. But then it's the hive mind. It's like, you've got these amazing makers and artists, creative people who just share, like you're sitting next to them and they say, oh, I'll show you how I do this. And that's why, people want to keep coming back to the studio, even like 10 in the night. It was just like, oh, I'm going to just go and do an hour of stitching with
It was
like,
awesome to see the commitment. I've got to say, people just loved it. They, like, they couldn't quite get enough.
yes.
Yeah, and I think there was something about the studio space. So everybody kind of sat at these big tables. They were creative and messy and kind of hectic in that lovely way. Not hectic, busy, but just busy tables. You know, there was the kind of the yeah, they just reflected, I suppose, everybody's process. And I just love this view. There's a way of coming above the studio and looking down. And I just love that kind of energy and the buzz, you know,
I
talking
love that view as
lives.
well. I know. And it's just the most gorgeous view to be looking. I mean, you look up from your uh, piece that you're embroidering, and then you have this amazing view, which is like, it knocks your socks off. So it just feels like you're drawing from it. You're drawing from everything that's around you, and it just kind of lifts your work and takes you in directions that maybe, you didn't quite imagine, which I think is just so, so amazing.
So
So
obviously, let's just go on a little bit. I'm aware of the time again. So we went for beautiful walks in the surrounding area, and the dogs came with us, of course. And yeah, I mean, everybody just, I think, really enjoyed their environment and kind of brought that into the work very much. And I know that's central to one of your kind of premises, isn't it?
yes.
I think, yeah, I imagine that in April there'll be many poppies out all over the place, and we can really bring that sense of around us into the studio. And then we also arranged a trip to the local Woad Museum.
Which is happening this time as well. So
Yeah, absolutely.
going
And
to
this,
be really exciting.
yeah, the woman showing us all the different colors.
Yarn
Yeah, exactly.
side. I
I
mean,
think
just look at
everybody loved
those
that.
blues. So many different blues. Gorgeous.
Yeah. And then at the end, we kind of did the show and tell and invited a few local friends. And everybody spoke about their work if they wanted to, and didn't if they didn't want to. But it was really an opportunity to kind of have a look at what had happened during the week, and how far people had come. and people's ideas had grown, and this kind of what had been a blank canvas was suddenly, you know, had life and Amassa all over it. It was really quite splendid. And I think people really, I mean, I know at the time people talked about the loveliness of the week. It was the buzzword.
Loveliness is the buzzword. This is what we do.
It was like a jar of lovely. Everybody went home with a jar of loveliness or loveliness in their heart, didn't they? But I think people did leave with a sense of being uplifted and kind of replenished and rejuvenated and inspired and yeah, and with kind of new perspectives and new friendships and new connections. Yeah, I think it was a magical week, and I'm sure that this one will be equally magical, different, but beautiful.
And very beautiful. Yes. Should we come out of your slides?
Yeah.
And
I don't know if there's anything
haven't covered.
Yeah.
I think I would like to mention that one of the days in the week that we are at Amassa, we're going to have a little excursion to a lovely town nearby, and we're going to go explore the antique shops. So I know some of them have exquisite French linen. And so the textile collection is spectacular, but also there are many, many, many other things that one can totally feel tempted by. So you can buy them or not, or take photographs. And it's just one of those experiences where you get to go into a different time and a different era and touch and feel those things. You know, when linen was used pretty much everywhere in the home. So there was the table linen and bed linen, and then of course the curtains. So you can get your hands on all of that. And then we have the wood museum visit, which we've talked about. We'll have a lovely meal in town. And this town is pretty special, by the way. It is on the gosh, what's the pilgrimage? I'm forgetting.
Oh, the Saint Jacques de Compostela route.
That's right. And the last time we were there, we were just talking about, you know, people walking the El Camino, and lo and behold, you know, there was a donkey laden with somebody's things who were actually on their way. And I was like, wow. I mean, how often do you see that?
I forgot that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that would be really, really special as well. And people bought all sorts of things like local
People, I think
honey.
everybody came home with something, didn't they? I mean, that's if you haven't already done all that in Paris, but yeah, I think everybody found their little bit of joy. And just to mention that when we go there, it's the market day as well, so everybody gets to walk around the lovely fruit and veg, and you know, the kind of the normal life of the region is kind of on display, so that's lovely too.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. It's like, get me there already. Tania, I want to say a huge, huge thank you to you for
Thank
taking
you.
time today, especially, you know, I know you're in the midst of so many things, planting your beautiful bulbs and getting ready for receiving us in April. And I just want to remind people that the dates are 19th to the 29th of April, and we will be in Amassa in the later half, or rather the bigger chunk of time would be spent at Amassa after our 3 days in Paris. So I will add the link to the retreat in the description. And again, just want to say a big thank you, Tania. I can't wait to see you.
So it's a pleasure, and I can't wait either. I'm really, really super excited and enjoying getting it all ready for you.
Thank you.
Much love. Take care.